This is the Washington Times front page for Thursday, June 2nd, 2022. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. A jury has awarded Johnny Depp more than $10 million in his libel lawsuit against ex-wife Amber Heard, vindicating his stance that Heard fabricated claims she was abused by Depp before and during their marriage. The jury also found in favor of Heard, who said she was defamed by Depp's lawyer when he called her abuse allegations a hoax. The jury awarded her $2 million in damages. The verdicts bring to an end a televised trial watched by millions that Depp had hoped would help restore his reputation, though it turned into a spectacle in and outside of the Fairfax County courtroom where it took place. Throughout the trial, fans of Depp lined up outside the courthouse overnight for coveted seats in the courtroom. Spectators who couldn't get in gathered on the street to catch a glimpse of the two whenever they appeared outside. President Biden says his administration did not foresee the infant formula crisis. Joseph Clark reports he said the Food and Drug Administration was forced to take immediate action to stop contaminated formula from putting American children at risk, and that his administration has been working diligently across every spectrum to address the shortage. When pressed by reporters after his remarks, Biden conceded he didn't predict the extent to which a closure of a Michigan plant in February would hurt formula supplies. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre scrambled to clean up the president's remarks, though she was unable to convey an exact timeline of how the crisis unfolded in the White House and when exactly the president was made aware of the extent of the shortage. With Friday marking the 100th day of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Ben Wolfgang reports it's become clear that Russian President Vladimir Putin has scaled back his once lofty ambitions for his aggression. The Russian military has instead mounted a fierce offensive on eastern Ukraine's disputed Donbas region and sought to drive enemy forces out of the Luhansk and Donetsk provinces. Now that the war is confined to a much smaller theater, foreign policy specialists say the countries are not engaged in a widespread clash, but in an era of frozen, highly localized conflict. That reality could result in few notable gains on the battlefield, even as the fighting fuels more destruction and economic turmoil worldwide. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find our entire roster of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. Special Counsel John Durham struck out in federal court this week and will try again with another prosecution later this year that may be his last as special counsel. Jeff Mordock reports rumblings that Durham may be fired started after a federal jury acquitted former Clinton campaign attorney Michael Sussman on one count of lying to the FBI. The case was brought and tried with prosecutors from Durham's team. Even if Attorney General Merrick Garland wants to pull the plug on Durham's investigation, it will have to wait until after the next trial in October of Igor Danchenko. The former Brookings Institution analyst is charged with 5 counts of lying to the FBI about how he gathered information that ended up in former British spy Christopher Steele's unverified dossier. Texas has deployed more than 40 miles of razor wire and other barriers along its border with Mexico, building a makeshift fence to plug gaps along the line. Stephen Dinan reports the Texas National Guard said last week that it had put up 42 miles of fencing and wire since the start of an effort by Texas to act as its own power in immigration enforcement. Republican Governor Greg Abbott has committed the state to build its own border wall and deployed the National Guard and state police at the border to help in that effort. Texas accounts for roughly half of illegal border crossers caught so far this year by authorities. And finally, the White House insists President Biden will run for a second term, but speculation is rampant he'll pass the baton to another Democrat. Tom Howe reports top prospects include Vice President Kamala Harris, certain members of his cabinet, including Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, and governors such as Phil Murphy of New Jersey. There's a roster of Democrats who could emerge as heirs to the party throne because of name recognition or a track record of winning smaller contests. A Harvard Caps Harris poll last month found the vice president tops the list of preferred candidates if Biden decides not to run. She attracted 19% of support from Democratic and independent voters, compared with 10% apiece for Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app. And find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in your favorite podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. With the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.